Hi, and welcome back. This is my video series trying to expand on my theoretical works in sociology as I write my book, Circles, the Myth of Society. And to do so, I'm really looking at a lot of different themes, right? I'm really fascinated by Campbell and his work in anthropology and mythology. Jung has been very influential to me as well. This specific playlist is looking at mythology and folklore and those various figures and how they impact our understandings of reality. And so this video series comes out every Wednesday, or at least as close as I can get to every Wednesday. And in this video, I wanted to start with a really interesting figure. I want to talk about Kronos from Greek mythology. And I think Kronos is a really fascinating figure who sometimes doesn't get enough credit when we talk about him. And a lot of times he's just written off as just a pure villain or a footnote in understanding the story of Zeus. For those who don't know who Kronos is, I'll give a very, very short synopsis of how his story is normally told. In Greek mythology, the universe starts with two titans, Kronos and Gaia, the sky and the earth. And their union brings the titans, right? These various gods of quite a few factors in the universe, right? From Atlas, who holds up the sky, et cetera, et cetera. And their younger son is Kronos. And Kronos is typically in modern tellings told to be this tyrant who seized control from his father, castrated him with a sickle that he gained from his mother, and is ultimately there as a placeholder to show the power of Zeus. Zeus castrates his father, banishes him to the underworld, and takes the place as the lead god in the universe. Kronos in this version had understood that his children would overthrow him, and ultimately ends up trying to prevent that by swallowing each of his children. His youngest child, again, Zeus, is spared from this by his wife Rhea, who sends Zeus away, who ultimately frees his sibling when he kills his father and ushers in the gods of Olympus. But I think Kronos is a really, really interesting figure. And we don't necessarily talk about what he is and what he represents in Greek mythos. And so there's been a lot of different renditions of who he is and how he works. So I want to start with Cicero. Cicero is a first century Roman philosopher who did great work in political philosophy if you've not read anything that he's written. But Cicero, he argued that the term Kronos itself is synonymous with the word time, and that Kronos is essentially synonymous in maintaining the cycle of the seasons and the periods of time. And so this is really what Kronos is in terms of the god's power, right? Zeus is lightning and storms, Poseidon is the sea, Hades is the underworld, but Kronos is time. The youngest child of the universe and the earth is time, which is a very interesting idea. I suppose as I write my book, Circles Theory, that's one of the areas I start with, right? Is the fundamental factors of the universe. And if you've watched my videos on the outline of my book, I really begin with the idea that order and chaos are the fundamental concepts of our universe. Their children are the titans of our existence. And so Kronos is the representation of time. And I think one of the things that's interesting is the Greeks never really ceased worshiping Kronos, because he represented quite a bit, right? I mean, because as the figure of time and seasons, he represented change. He carried a sickle, right? I mean, that's his weapon, right? Zeus had the thunderbolt, but Kronos had the sickle, which he used to castrate. Sure, but I mean, that's the item that you use to deal with your field, to cut crops, to gain food. He is a god of harvest, which are always interesting, right? I mean, there's a lot of pagan mythology that's very fascinating when we talk about stuff like that. But I think that there's a lot of interesting concepts that come with that. So the Romans adopt him, but they call him Saturn, which is interesting, right? It notes that he is saturated with years since devouring us. It implies that he's the devourer of ages. He's the gorger, right? He is the one that fills. He's the one that takes. He is a devourer. And actually, a lot of early depictions of like Father Time, or even still when we talk about Father Time, he tends to hold the sickle. This is a throwback to Kronos. Because in a simple term, he is time. He shifts reality in that regard. And this is one of the most fundamental concepts of the universe that is important to understand when we talk about those that affect society and ourselves, is when we talk about the external factors that influence reality. There is no escaping time. And this is, I mean, even Plato talks about this. And Plato is one of my favorites, though I tend to prefer Aristotle. But Plato talks about Kronos being basically the concept of one cause, like all things, right? Everything stems from this idea of the shift of time, which is a complicated factor, right? I mean, that's one that we haven't even really proven yet. I mean, science is still out there on if time exists, or if that's just our conceptual understanding of the universe. Is this a fundamental law, or is this just a perception? We do understand that time is relative. I mean, Einstein proved that. We understand that in black holes, time moves differently. The closer we are to one time, shifts in different ways. The time is a separation of our universe and whatever the hell is outside of it. But Kronos is the representation of that, which is a threatening concept. It is logical that early Homo sapien would try to fight against it, or look for a god that would fight time. Because no matter what we do, what we achieve, what we create, time is always an enemy. Time is decay. Time is death. Time is shift. Time is change. Time is uncontrollable. And so, as we see Kronos in his story, I think that I would like to hear more about that. Is him as an individual, is how he represents that shift in time and reality. He is a specific influence on our reality. He is, I think what moves past that is in Greco-Roman mythology. He represents the destructive ravages of time and how it devours all things. No matter what we create, everything falls to Kronos. Everything is succumbed to decay. This is a universal truth of our existence. No matter what we accomplish on this world, our planet will die. Our universe is destined to end and collapse. Kronos is represented as the ravaging and devourer of all things. He's the Titan king that ate the gods. And this is representative of the past consuming the future. And I suppose that's why he's portrayed as a villain, is he tries to use his ability and understanding of time to stop the future. And this is symbolic of the older generation suppressing the next one. And this is where Kronos' greatest flaw is he tries himself to use his power of time to prevent the future, which is yet again a theme that is proved over and over again to be futile. And I look at my theory, and one of the things I understand, if we talk about Freud, we talk about his concept of Oedipus, we talk about the the father-killing instinct that is the individual. And that's what he's been critiqued about over and over and over again, because it is a rather extreme theory. But one thing that's important when he talks about is the idea that it is natural for the son to kill the father. We tend to take that overly literal, right? Like as if it is natural for young boys to just go, oh, I'm going to go kill dad. What I think that Freud is getting at is this idea that concepts, abstractions, symbols, and ideas are ultimately killed by the next generation. And this is important. This is really important for societal development. Our generation killed the ideas of the one before it. And same with the one before that. There's a generation that stood up for civil rights and killed the ideas and symbols and cultural concepts of the one before it. It is important that the new generation understands the flaws of the one before it and defeats it. This is rebellion in that sense. Right? Campbell talks about this. He talks about one of the things that the hero is meant to do is to redeem the sins of their father, because it takes the son to understand what the father messed up and to create a new path and to change that, to alter this course and redeem it, which requires a shift and a change. And it's important that figure, right, that generation fights against it. Because if it's not a fight, it doesn't really matter, right? The younger generation has to battle it. They have to destroy it. This is how societies evolve. This is Star Wars, right? I mean, this is the Sith. This is the rule of two. The new, stronger, better idea kills the older, weaker one so that everything is progressing. Rule of two. And Kronos represents this. He is the father that refused it and tried to prevent it. And so what I think is important here when we talk about the development of ideas and the development of a theory and sociological concepts, psychological, philosophical concepts, is we have to be prepared to develop our ideas and fight for them. And know they will be killed. This is Batman, man. I mean, Batman, right? I mean, one of the best quotes in that is you either die young or see yourself become the villain. Kronos tried to stop this, which led to his castration. Because even the manifestation of time succumbs to it. And so this is an important concept as we develop this idea. So if you're interested in discussing any ideas of Kronos, time, son's killing father, the Oedipus complex, Freud, please make a comment, share your thoughts. If anybody ever sees this, I don't know if anyone ever will, but if you do, please share your thoughts. Like, send this video to a friend, I don't know, share it. I'm really trying to talk this through. This is me thinking out loud. I'm just playing with different ideas. But I think Kronos is a really interesting and important figure, because no matter what I do, I know that I am destined to decay of time. Even if my theories prove effective or good or interesting, they'll be killed. All good work does that. All good work looks at the past and goes, it's bullshit. Let me point what's wrong in it. So please leave a comment, share. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I plan on pumping these out every Wednesday, talking about mythology and folklore. Next week, we'll be getting into some different characters, some different aspects. I'm very interested in Norwegian mythology, Egyptian, Chinese, Native American, African, Anansi the spider is like one of my favorite figures of all time. So a lot of really neat stuff to talk about and think about. So I look forward to talking to you again. Have a good week.